I'm honored to be able to moderate the last panel of the day, often the most exciting one, right? Everybody at the end of this can go get drinks, have fun, network for the rest of the day. And it's really cool to go right after a topic like RWA because now we're talking about AI, which outside of like prediction markets are part of the top 3 narratives that we've just been talking about nonstop everywhere we go. Full disclosure, last DAT Summit, I hosted a panel, and I was so eager to get into it that I forgot to introduce myself and my panelists, so I'm not going to make that mistake again. My name is Sebastian Mark. I'm VP of Strategy at Luna PR. Honored to have hosted all of you throughout the day, and I'm going to let my panelists introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Sylvia Toe, Director at Bullish Capital Management. So we're a venture arm of Bullish Group. For those who don't know, CoinDesk or Consensus, we just hosted at Hong Kong this week. We typically invest in Series A, 5 to 10 more check sizes. So if you guys are raising, if you guys are a founder, feel free to come and approach me after.
Hi, my name is Joshua Chu. I'm the co-chair of the Hong Kong Web3 Association. I'm also a lawyer and law lecturer, as well as a regulatory consultant in ProSynergy. So some of the work that we're very proud of includes of the 11 crypto exchange license in Hong Kong. We did 10 of them, so very proud about our work within the crypto space.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tess Howe, founder of Tess Venture, a Silicon Valley VC fund. We've been investing the last 15 years, and we have about 300 investment in Web 2 and Web 3. We're proud investors of Animoca, Yatsu very early, Kraken Crypto Exchange very early, alongside a lot of other AI companies and Web 3 companies.
Hi, I'm Mark Berkowitz, CEO of Kia. We're a global crypto-focused, recently stablecoin-focused neobank, banking the underbanked clients globally. We try to implement as much as possible AI tools and fintech to optimize things, and we're very much actively looking into agentic economy. So very much excited to join this panel with such esteemed speakers.
Awesome, fantastic. So I'll kick off with a question that kind of applies to everyone, and feel free to chime in here. AI has been a hot topic conversation for a long time now. It feels like in the last 12 to 18 months, there's been a shift with capital, with regulation, and with institutional focus shifting towards deployment. I want to understand why. Why, in your opinion, have we seen this shift in the last year or so? What's the main driving factor, and why now?
I mean, I think if you look at the advancements of AI, it's come a long way from ChatGPT 3. Crypto specifically, we haven't seen too much of an intersection between crypto AI that's worked out in terms of real utility. But in the AI space, if you're looking at tools that have improved engineering code, it's gone miles. So there's engineers that would use vibe coding. So everyone knows about vibe coding, which is pretty much like lovable AI. You know, any mum and pop could just spin out a website now. But there's vibe engineering, which is a very different skill set, and that's something that's it's revolutionary in the sense that it's going to optimize efficiency of engineers, developers within corporates and institutions by miles. And they're now able to start replacing more junior devs and optimizing away certain jobs that UI, UX as well. This is another industry that you don't really need to hire someone for 80K, 100K as a senior UI, UX dev anymore. So these are the kind of jobs and skill sets that are being replaced by AI.
Well, on the AI front, of course, because I do teach the course on AI compliance as well, AI is actually not a new innovation at all. The whole concept actually was first articulated by Alan Turing back in the 1950s. And we saw a huge number of AI developments actually in the initial years before we entered the AI winter. And back to Sebastian's question on why now? Well, it's actually in the last few years that we saw the crossroads of where a number of technologies coming together that's able to deliver on what was first envisioned over 60 years ago. That is the proliferation of the internet, the smartphones, as well as there being sufficient data being around. So I'm also the director at CITD, which is another listed company that does artificial intelligence, and we don't deal with the large language model type, but we did the AI for MTR, for example. And one of the things we learned early on is AI, what we actually see is AI without domain knowledge is actually just a gimmick. And right now what we're seeing is because of public policy and because of fear of missing out by a number of chief executives, for example, they don't really know what they're doing when it comes to their AI strategy. So from the regulatory perspective, of course, which we'll go into potentially later, it's with a very different lens. But at this particular juncture, like I said, we are at a crossroad where we have a number of maturing technology that enable us to fully use it. That having been said, we always say that there needs to be the human elements as the final gatekeeper.
I also echo what my fellow panelists shared. I think AI is absolutely, I mean, at Test Venture, we've been investing in AI agents, and we've been sharing and talking about this publicly over the last 4 years. We've been fortunate, been investing in machine learning almost 10 years ago because of the opportunity when I went to Stanford, 2011 to 2013. We saw machine learning, we shared it with other co-investors, but no one wanted to listen because it was not cool yet until, you know, ChatGPT called it AI and really globally energized everyone. Now everyone's talking about AI. So very fortunate at our team, we have 10 partners, great portfolio founders, very technical. They have shared, you know, the evolution of how machine learning AI has happened and what it might look like in the future. So currently we're very also excited about physical AI, which I'm sure in the future conferences, all of us will also be talking about that, if not yet. And we think AI currently is going more vertical, such as the ChatGPT is broad and generic, you know, making it super useful. At the same time, you also see companies like the ChatGPT for doctors that recently has, you know, done a very successful raise because of its traction. And I'm, you know, extremely excited about how all of this will progress.
I think out of important factors recently for institutional players, regulation compliance is very important. I think regulators now, instead of limiting, try to incentivize more. They see it's actually something that can help to improve many aspects. For us in the financial industry, it's AML matters, compliance matters, but it can improve like any part of institutional business to make it more lean, more efficient, starting from each part, from HR functions, customer support, and so on and so on. And recently we went through a cycle of some very simple automation sequences or something like that, and a lot of specialized tools like what's been mentioned, like Lovable for coding and developing websites or something like that. And these tools are becoming actually useful instead of a very general raw LLM, which is almost the same for everyone until you actually teach it. We see already these pre-trained specialized instruments which are very, very useful. And one important also another factor, as previous panel, I think a real-world asset, a tokenized economy will drive that as well, because AI and programmable money, programmable asset, I think AI would be the only thing that can efficiently control that and actually properly manage it.
Fantastic. Awesome set of answers. I wanted to bounce on a few of the points. Tess and Sylvia, and obviously anyone else who wants to weigh in here, but I'm interested in understanding what signals you look for in companies that want to deploy AI in a way that's productive, in a way that's responsible, in a way that's set up for success? What are like some of those common signals that you see?
Well, at Test Venture, we 100% believe investment, who and what is going to be able to deliver the disruptive tech successfully. It always comes down to the team and the human capital side. So to your question, we do look for experts if they're on the team or if they have guidance from advisors who understand safety in AI. And at our firm, we have Dr. Julia, who, one of our portfolio company, my mini-me AI agent, she's been building AI agents the last 3-4 years. And she has co-authored a paper with DeepMind folks, with Google folks, that talks about this. And that's how we have been able to, recognize what signals to look for when we invest in future AI companies. All early stage companies may not have the funding to have such talent, but they can definitely make sure the investor know that they have guidance from experts, advisors that can guide them on the safety of AI. So I think that's crucial.
We actually, just to kind of give you guys a little bit more value, I don't want to sit here and talk about AI in theory. We did a Shenzhen tour earlier in Monday this week, and we went to see like a whole bunch of really cool robotics and AI stuff. So like Meituan has those drones that do like the drone deliveries, and you can get your Starbucks coffee and your drinks and stuff that's delivered into the park. And then we also did like this driverless Pony AI driverless car, which you see in Waymo back in San Fran, but over here in Asia, I mean, you've got Pony AI in Shenzhen. And then I guess the highlight of it was Engine AI Zhongqing. It's a really, really advanced humanoid robotic company. We took a Silicon Valley, like super core, hardcore top dev over there, and he was simply blown away. He said that robot was more advanced than Tesla's Optimus, more advanced than Boston Dynamics, more advanced than Unitree, which you keep hearing about out of China. But this T800 robot is like a killer Terminator. If you just YouTube T800 Engine AI, you'll see that there's some military-grade robotics, AI robotics out there right now that is pretty amazing. The one signal that you look for as a VC is, this is great, this is cool. Is it a prototype or can I buy it right now? And they gave me a price. It's 188,000 RMB. So I could walk out there with a $24,000 robot out of the lift, down into the park, take it back to Hong Kong on that day.
But you didn't do that, did you?
No, I couldn't expense that.
Awesome, fantastic. And Joshua, from a regulatory framework perspective, right? Because you're so closely linked to that. The shifts that we've seen in the past year, especially here in Hong Kong, for example, I know you'll be able to speak to that. I want to understand how you see institutions balance that chase for pushing AI efficiency while also staying compliant and accountable for whatever comes out of that push.
Well, like I said before, the first thing you need to look at is filter out, is AI being applied as a gimmick to basically get be the first out there to say we are utilizing AI in our value chain. But the SFC have actually issued a number of circulars governing how licensed companies, corporations should utilize AI. AI is not meant to replace anyone. And at the end of the day, there's that human element, that human gatekeeper. So you can use AI just like an advanced search engine to collate your research, to basically put together whatever package of information that you need. But it's actually down to the human being because let's face it, when things goes wrong, it's a human that goes to jail. You can't, as expensive as the robot that you saw, you can't send a robot to jail when things happen. That's not very convincing to the public. So the human being behind, that's part of the license operator, will need to take responsibility for understanding the materials that they're relying on that's compiled by AI, having the ability to also audit the auditability elements of it, and ultimately to basically read through all the information before presenting it to the clients, whether it makes sense to them. So that human element is actually super, super important. And just now I started this panel discussion saying, without domain knowledge for artificial intelligence, you don't really have, it's nothing more than a gimmick. It becomes infrastructure when you're actually training that AI model based on your domain knowledge that you have exclusive within your organization, that you can package it as Sylvia really well articulated, of course, just now, a ready-made product that you can deliver to client, because it's not very convincing, of course, to just flip what AI provided you from ChatGPT to the clients. Now, we mentioned AI medicine just now earlier. My entire family are doctors except for me, so I'm the black sheep of my family. But I still recall a lot of times when my sister was in medical school, they were saying, oh, my senior is just relying on Wikipedia articles to assist him on diagnosis. How is that it's not very well received by the patient. But now patients are getting scared when they're seeing doctors are using AI. But what I'm seeing is it's no different from how things are delivered at the end of the day. Because what people are actually missing is, yes, the doctor can rely on the Wikipedia article that he saw online, or in today's day and age, what he found, the information he needs at his fingertips by the touch of a button with AI. But it's actually the doctor's own domain knowledge of processing what that AI is saying that you're actually paying that service for. So from a regulatory lens standpoint, of course, that human element is always still there. So we don't actually see AI is supposed to be there to replace anyone. We see that how AI is there supposed to make the entire workplace much more efficient, much more safe, because it can remove human error and really to assist them. So I've actually written about the application of AI in legal, for example, how it's there to assist the legal profession and not to basically replace. Because if you remove the human element, then it becomes very draconian because AI doesn't care about your particular circumstances. And that human element does translate back into finance, because when it's still a human-to-human business today.
Amazing, amazing. Mark, earlier in the conversation, you kind of mentioned all the different avenues where you can improve processes within a company with AI, right? I want to understand, in your opinion, in the volatile markets that we're going through, right? How can AI meaningfully improve risk management and resilience in the markets that we're facing?
First of all, I really like what Joshua was saying about the importance of human being with AI. As Romans used to say, human needs human, AI also needs human these days. Regardless of how advanced the tool is, I think we're actually standing on a verge of regulatory challenges. Who will be responsible for AI's actions, of course, will come up through this. In terms of regulation and compliance, of course, it's both. There's in our financial field, there's constant race between bad actors and compliance systems that are trying to prevent them. So we've seen AI tools being used to do everything these days, starting from full live video verification, forged documents. It's so advanced. On the other hand, the tools to prevent that became really advanced as well. The OCR tools are so advanced. There are AI models that are studying on all this fraudulent data and so on. It became also really good. So it's a constant race. And of course, regulatory side should also be looking at this. And for institutional players, they need to be double cautious about everything they implement. In terms of areas of business, so obviously everything that gathers some data, each part of business can be improved. And so this leads us to, I think, the most important topic about implementing AI, the access to data, how companies, institutions are storing data, are gathering, and those who have been diligent about that and professional, they will succeed. Maybe even if they haven't implemented AI tools yet, if they have proper data that they can use and leverage, they will be actually at the forefront.
Well, Mark is quite right on point, because one of the things, projects that we've been working with is we actually, working with various government organizations, we have noticed that a lot of companies, some of them, a lot of organizations, some of them will overestimate themselves in the quality and the amount of data that they have. But while some actually are underutilizing because they don't realize how much data they have. Take law enforcement, for example. There's actually so much data that enables, that is unused. And it's actually down to whether the company is able to identify the domain knowledge, which a lot of organizations are actually holding but not fully utilizing, to say that, look, we can actually create a ready-made product based on the data, domain data that you have. And these are all great opportunities. So we are seeing, of course, you have highlighted the market correction. It's all about the technology, the current technologies. But what we're not actually seeing is whether those companies have actually capitalized on what is underutilized at this particular stage, which, as I've echoed, is the underutilized domain knowledge that people have within the organization that's not being processed yet.
We've been meeting here with, just a quick story, with several partners and one asset manager firm here in Hong Kong. We went to their office, and there are many desks, and they're sitting on a huge pile of documents, corporate documents. So imagine how they could get into AI games. So that's very crucial that this is stored properly and leveraged.
Yes, but again, that's where we need to have responsible application of technologies as well. Because once you start putting those data out there, you need to be very careful not to use open source data to process these data. Because one of the things that regulators, as well as your clients, will be concerned is, are my data being used without my consent? And that is why localization, AI localization, is actually the next phase that we're seeing that's more popular, where organizations want to use their own synthetic data to train the AI without ever exposing any of their clients' data to the public domain.
If you want to get to that level of private data, then I guess you have to use edge computing rather than cloud computing, because all the data that sits in Amazon Cloud, Google Cloud, is still being exposed. So if you're using edge computing, say, you're hooking up your MacBooks or your MacBook Pros, etc., within the company. There's like the synchronization piece that you have to solve for, which Exo Labs has, and then use edge computing instead of cloud computing for that. The downside is it's a lot slower, and compute power is a lot lower. So there are trade-offs on that.
Well, from a litigator's perspective, of course, I still remember quite a lot of controversies that came out when ChatGPT say there's no privilege or confidentiality by them, so all the risk. But one of the first thought that I had was like, yes, I cannot put my own client's data on there, but what about my opponent's data, right? Put it up there and say that my opponents commit any crime, and maybe they will report them, but that's just a fun thing that I had in my mind at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's never safe in the cloud. It's you're always trusting a third party. But if it's on your own laptop or if you've got your own GPUs, then great.
And that's why early days crypto community. So one of my mentor, JL, who was the founder of Bitfinex and the early days CEO of Tether, he once taught me that anything that's connected to the internet can and will eventually be compromised. And that's why even in early days, back in the 2018, I believe I had that conversation with him. We spoke about the importance of zero knowledge proof and those concepts on how to isolate and protect certain class of data.
Fantastic. Awesome. You can tell Joshua's the lawyer on the panel. I love it. I don't know how much time we have left, but I wanted to kind of wrap up with a two-part question. The first part's the boring standard thing of what do you think in the next year AI is going to change, right? In institutional infrastructure or even beyond that. And then the second portion of it is I want you guys to tell us what you think AI is for sure going to change that the public just does not see coming at the moment.
Happy to take that first. So at Test Ventures, I really think, seeing machine learning evolve into AI so early. All 10 of us are founders who have raised venture capital scale money to scale globally. Some of us have access under our belts. I started a company that was acquired. Then I spent time at Stanford to get trained on how to be, the best VC that our firm can be. We're fortunate, it is an evergreen fund, so we've been able to transition into the frontier tech quite quickly, quite nimbly. How we see the evolution of AI is very clear. To echo what Sylvia mentioned earlier, physical AI robotics is already here, and I do agree. Everyone who has not seen, the robotics, demos that are in the labs should go see. Now the question is, are these lab robots ready to be deployed into the real environment? That's the piece that AI is going to be very important, and responsible safety is crucial. And I'm sure Joshua is going to have a lot that he can share, in the future about this. But what we've done already is we see the trend of physical AI. We saw this early. We've been fortunate to be able to invest in what we felt was the shiniest humanoid company 2 years ago, Figure.ai. And last 2 months they raised at $39 billion, which that on paper for our returns is faster than any crypto deals in the current state of the market. And we've been investing in blockchain, infrastructure for the last 12 years. So seeing physical AI evolve, we already started and incubated a company called Magnus Labs. It helps deploy robots faster, safer into the real world, because all that is a whole different type of, you can say, human will always be in the loop. So proper SOPs, proper guidance, proper guardrails in these sense is absolutely going to be needed. And different robots are going to be used for different purpose. It's not going to be a generic robot, one size fits all. You will be able to see cleaning robots in hotels that help clean, the washroom, specifically the toilet bowl as one of the first, adoption that we think will happen, just because of the labor shortage. And the younger generation does not think it's cool to have this type of labor, so they rather be the one operating the robot. And how Magnus Labs, what we see, structuring it as a Web 2, Web 3 company, is to utilize the incentivization layer, utilize the foundational fundamental of training the human workforce to be able to handle the robots. And this is where physical AI will be. Having said that, in the last few years, we already invested in joinable.ai, which is also a simple AI technology platform. The CEO is Brian Shin, and he has already optimized workflows using AI tech instead of just dashboards or research. And that itself is also going to help process data in a safe, scalable way. So this is where we think, the physical AI topic and this sector should be highlighted, and we're going to be seeing more of this. And I agree, humans will always be in the loop, especially for physical AI, robotics. So certainly AI also has helped augment and help optimize, what human is able to achieve now. So in the robotic workforce, physical AI, that's even more important to remember. It is going to be a robotic workforce moving forward.
I think if I was to leave everyone with a thought, food for thought in this room, I think after you finish going home after this panel, have a little think about what job you have now and if you have a strong enough moat that you won't be replaced by AI. So the cameraman there, he's probably thinking, okay, it might be safe from AI, but is there a robotic replacement that might come in the next 5 years? Or you're over there, if you're a UX designer, how safe is your job in the next 3 years? I don't know. I myself, I'm thinking as well, as a venture capitalist, my boss is already comparing our analysts' reports against ChatGPT and citing that in an email saying, versus, okay, Patrick, you still have a job, that's great. But at what point in time and how safe are your jobs right now? You have to start thinking about what moat you're going to be able to provide come these advances. Because the difference between humans and robots is humans, we're emotional. Yes, we have a little bit of a connection with your employees, etc. stickiness to fire might be a little bit harder, but later down the track, if you start getting automated, what are you going to do? Like, how are you going to provide income for your families, etc.? You should start thinking about, as the world evolves, how your place fits in that new world.
We've been joking that if crypto goes the wrong way, we can always go as a cook in McDonald's. Might be not an option anymore. Yeah, also to add to that, I'm a finance guy. From finance perspective, money and funds go through all areas, whether it's science, biology, medicine, and I think amazing thing to watch and observe would be agentic economy. How it's going to work. This is a new form of economic actors, and definitely it will be huge. I think I wouldn't say no one foresees that, as in your original question, but no one can predict the magnitude of how big it would be. These new economic actors, the amount of transactions, new value created by AI, which will be probably transactioned by agentic actors.
Well, I'm so glad that I'm a litigation lawyer by training because while AI can produce a lot of the legal knowledge upfront, one thing they have not yet been able to do is replace comedians or come up with very punchy lines on any of that. So I used to joke that my profession as a litigator means I'm a professional troll, because at that time my work is largely to point out the mistakes of others. That's professional trolling, right? So AI is not in any near having that capability to replace that line of work anytime soon. Now, that having been said, I would see that there's going to be other strands of artificial intelligence that is being overlooked at this point. A lot of the panel discussion is on how AI is used in various roles that can be replaced, but we're going to see a lot more products coming out that utilize domain knowledge, which I've been emphasizing. Insofar as from the financial circle is concerned, as I've mentioned earlier, you cannot send a robot to jail. Nor would the regulators put the vendor at jail. It's down to the human gatekeeper that goes to jail if things goes wrong. So that's why the regulators have actually put down very firm ground rules saying, yes, we do encourage you to use AI, but you need to do it with a strategy and you need to do it responsibly. You need to know how AI came to the conclusion it is, and you need to review the logic before allowing that same set of work being produced externally. So from the long run, we do see that what is very important is actually that AI proficiency, whether your workforce will know how to properly use AI. Because if you look at recent days, a lot of the controversies, including lawyers getting in trouble for using AI, is because they didn't bother checking how the AI generated the product that they actually submitted to court. They cited fictitious case authorities, for example. A simple audit or checking that where did they actually got the legal principle from would have saved them from that issue. So it's actually the same risk that we saw back 10 years ago when professional parties would use intern as free labor and turn around giving that intern's work product to the client, which is unethical, but it's actually the same cultural issue that hasn't been solved. And that will, AI has highlighted it, and we'll continue to see how people are going to be held responsible for how they utilize the technology.
Fantastic. All incredibly diverse answers. Thank you for educating me during this panel. Thank you for being patient and waiting for the last panel. Thank you for everyone who stayed in this room. Anybody who has massive anxiety attack because of what Sylvia just mentioned, there is going to be red and white wine outside where you can go drown your sorrows, but not before our CEO parts with a few last words for everyone.